Welcome back to Dum-Dums and Dragons, where improvisers who've never roleplayed before journey into the world of Dungeons and Dragons. I am the Great Wizard Bukake, your host. The assassination of Vinton Charlamagne has been stopped. Reginald arrested a dead body before it was revived. Quinny only survived his time as a magical monster with the help of Farthole, and Mrs. Paisley and Butthole were busy hosting the diplomatic event. Will Longidon Geese escape, or will they catch the evil envoy in time? Find out next on Dum-Dums and Dragons.
Time is not your friend, Dum-Dums. Having successfully foiled the assassination attempt via turn into weird Arkham Asylum villain monster potions, you are now desperately trying to get to the envoy from Damara, Longidon Geese, before he makes his escape, as told to you by Just Diana. You know there's more Damarian troops kind of positioned outside the city somewhere, and if he gets away, then you will have a difficult time, I think, explaining what went down tonight. The good news is that Vinton is fine and is fine for Quinny, and maybe Farthole and Just Diana are going to get married after her incarceration is complete. Uncertain at this point, but once you've been healed by a farting suit of armor, strange things happen. So, Quinny, you are leaving on Chompy, the Wyvern, to go chase down Longidon.
Technically, he was denied Chompy because that would implicate the Saw in this adventure. So he was specifically told, no chomps.
Oh, you're right. You can just fly now. So
yes,
you were just going to fly there, I think. I seem to recall you were going to be airborne while everyone else was stuck on the ground.
I think that's right, yeah.
Yeah, because that's what we do now. We just fly.
Instead of Chompy, he was going to Neo through the air.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm like, am I going to spend an hour on a bus or a streetcar? And Quinny's like, am I going to Neo or Wyvern? Great, love it. And Reginald had set off to get horses. So that is where we pick things up. Of course, we will check back in on Mrs. Paisley having just a time in the bar soon.
Paisley.
But we have, just echoing on the air amidst all the murder and mayhem. But
it's in her voice because she's like join in. She's really.
I understand, and everyone is doing a good mimic job because honestly, it's very cute when she says it. So everyone just kind of wants to like get in on the experience.
Heck yeah.
So Tyler, how would you like to pursue? You basically want to get back. You'll remember that Longidon meta-narratively was meant to meet up with Bucky at the parade grounds. You're aware of where his quarters are on kind of the diplomat floor of the Black Castle. You don't know about the Bucky piece because Bucky has been playing it pretty close to the chest in his role as official greeter and I think unofficial whip, but I don't think he knows he's doing that. So that's fun. Tyler, how's Quinny going to try and take off after the envoy?
I think. Well, I know Reginald and the gang were running to catch him too. Where did they say they were going again?
We'd been told roughly that Longidon was supposed to meet the assassins outside town or whatever, and then they'd all fuck off together. We don't know if that's true because they weren't Featherfall potions; they were monster potions. But Reginald has gone to get horses to follow that lead, as like if he's outside of town, considering it's a shitty, burnt down desert with a small ring of, shall we say, gently baked fruit and vegetables. He's planning on taking like a unit of kind of like sending Vismuth to make sure the prisoner survives and gets delivered, and he'd take some other hammers and just go outside to catch them if they're trying to make an escape.
Okay. Then, I guess I would try and catch him. No, if I try to go somewhere solo, I have no way of communicating with anyone remotely, so no one knows where I'm going right now. So I'm going to try and keep up with Reginald and the crew, and then we can split and delegate as needed as we discover new things. Cool. So on foot, currently, I'm going to try and catch up with Reginald and co.
Great. I think that's easy enough to do. You really just had kind of like a quick exchange with Vinton, and now you're off to the races. This is also, I think, a sound plan, just given how much shit Quinny's been through tonight, because it has been a long long
Yeah.
paint night for Quinny.
I mean, it's been pretty easy for Quinny, but I think Benji's had a rough night.
Not as rough as
Benji found himself when he killed
Todwin.
Todwin the dishwasher. Beloved character, R.I.P. in peace. So, all right. So, Quinny, you're going to take off after Reginald and the Hammerers.
Yeah.
That's totally fine. So, Reginald, Quinny, I think probably catches up pretty quickly. Would you be going for the closest horses or going back for the official horses? Because we have established that the Damarian assassins that we've been hanging out with were posing as stable hands. So there may be random horses nearby, like that's the stables that Quinny kept going to. But would Reginald just grab any horse, or is it like I need my horse?
Oh no, this is any horse. This is whatever's closest. He's got to make a move. Like this is for the king kind of shit. The previous stables, I think, were back near the fairgrounds, and a murder was just discovered there, so they might be busy. But no, he's like, they're in a rich neighborhood. Somebody's got some fucking horses. Those just are going to be claimed for this purpose.
Okay, amazing. So we established that even though the Vasa spooky house is kind of like up on a little hill, you are in the rich neighborhood of Aka. So yeah, that's totally fine. You make your way up to you kind of hear the telltale of horses.
I'm imagining sounds expensive.
I'm imagining this, even though this is kind of a silly comparison, as almost like the sort of Beverly Hills corner of Aka or Asgard, I guess, where there's just like, big fences, big shrubberies, all that sort of stuff. I guess kind of like a Roman villa situation, but if a bunch of them were all kind of crammed together. So like in Rome proper. I mostly know this from San Andreas, so not real Beverly Hills, but like what CJ or the plethora of GTA 5 characters would drive around. So that kind of like tight, vaguely hilly, sort of winding road situation, and a lot of wealth out just away from prying eyes. So sure enough, Reginald, you hear the telltale whinny of expensive horses. You see a massive gate with a wrought iron W sort of in the center of it, with those big, like 10 feet shrubberies on either side that just kind of line it to keep prying eyes out.
Great, fuck that gate. He's just going to storm that thing and hit it with a hammer. This is not a time for negotiation. Like, he'll try to open it in that he's hitting it with his shoulder, but hammer and shoulder, fuck this thing.
All right, I'm going to need an athletics, please.
Absolutely.
I'll give you advantage because it's not
fighting
moving.
back.
Yeah.
It's not the gate from the Addams Family.
Sadly, no. I mean, good for you that it's not, but sad for me in my head.
That is a 13, because I rolled 13? Very poorly.
Yeah. Reginald, you slam your shoulder into it, but this is...
Oh, yeah, no, that's the athletics. Fuck. Yeah, fuck, sorry.
This is the Aka, you remember? Just incredibly paranoid rich people. This thing, it gives, but in a way where it is clearly built to withstand, battering ram impact. And as soon as you do, as soon as you sort of slam your shoulder into it, some kind of enchantment goes off. The gate immediately lights up with fairy fire. And little kind of sparks flicker and switch, and you just hear a voice sort of echoing off of the gate in kind of an awkward way, because gates are not tremendously acoustically good, as Laura can attest from all the times we tried to record in gates. The voice just says, "Hello, you are attempting to breach a Good Works Company gate. That is not a great idea. These are secure for a reason. We would ask that you kindly turn yourself in to the local constabulary. That will save the Warren family a lot of difficulty, and they would appreciate it. Sincerely, the Warren family."
Great. He's going to take like 3 steps to the left of the gate to where it's just a fence and be like, "All right, Quinny, you're going up." And he's just going to hold out his hands in like a saddle to boost Quinny to toss him over the wall.
Quinny, can I get a perception or arcana, please?
That's a natural 1. Let's re-roll that. That's a 2. Quinny's worst thing.
Oh my gosh.
Quinny can't do anything about it too.
So much.
Again, like these dice do not favor you, sir.
I know.
Cool.
I mean, what'd you say, perception or arcana?
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't matter.
You're not a bard. It's not going to matter.
Yeah, no.
All right. So
up and over.
Yep. Seems reasonable. So Quinny, you're tossed up into the sky, finally getting your Neo moment that we described earlier, only to sort of hit a sparking, arcing shield that has sort of arced up and over the house. It doesn't cause you a tremendous amount of pain. It will cause you a dice of my choosing's worth of pain. But it's very clear now that you see it that it's not just the gate. It's like the entire fence system is built to protect those inside and to make life difficult for those who attempt to breach it. Because having a gate that threatens you and is not attached to anything else that's a poor man's game in a car. So Quinny, that's going to deal 8 points of damage as you comically zap like Tim from Jurassic Park before being blasted off of it into the night. Reginald, I need
into the night. How far is he going?
It's meant to repel invaders, and he's very small.
Yeah.
So Reginald, it's reversed fastball special time. It's Reginald in the rye time. Can you catch this flying boy? I need probably a dexterity save, to be honest, to see if you can get out there and catch bodyguard catch Quinny.
Dirty 20.
Thank you very much.
All right, how does that play out, Ryan?
I think it's just a higher jump than people would think is possible for a guy of his size. Because if you swing a hammer to use that weight and leap at the same time, like it could just give you a little bit more of a lift in the way that he has practiced with his like weirdly gem-fueled musculature over time. So it's just the hammer comes up, he swings it up, and then he releases it, catches Quinny, lands, and then reaches up and catches the hammer as it falls down next to him.
Reginald's got to try out for the Asgard volleyball team. He's got all the moves. He's got the two hands together low for coming up, and then he's right there with hands up for the block. He's like,
that
he's
or the
doing
cheerleading
great.
team.
Oh, yeah, either one, really.
All right, so here's our options. We can look for horses somewhere else, or he looks around. Tom, is there a carriage we might be able to say, start pushing and ram into a gate?
Oh, totally. Yeah. I think it's safe to say that there are, given the zombies and the violence, that still really haven't been fully recovered. There are some abandoned vehicles nearby that are very fancy. It'd be safe to say that in the chaos that followed both like the rise of the army of the undead and also Lichfall, like a lot of nobles booked it out of town. Like that gap in the wall wasn't just for the dark spikes. It's like people who were like, oh no, I want to be here. Fucked off. There's still a lot of people who are here, and like you've certainly seen that in terms of this is mine, this town is mine. Like I will survive. I am a Ka. But there are also people who are just like, oh no, now it's time to move to my summer property in Neverwinter and that sort of shit. So there's definitely some abandoned vehicles around. I will also say that kind of to your instinct there, if this house has this kind of defense, most other ones will too. It'll be a while before you can get horses. You can try a different gate, but it's going to be kind of a similar or worse situation. So rammy.
All right, so basically I can smash a card into this thing and see if we can bust our way through it unless you got a cleverer idea. Also, we're going to have a little conversation with this Good Works Corporation. I don't care for it. The police and the standing army and hammers need keys to this shit. Otherwise, they don't get to practice bullshit in this town anymore.
Yeah, fucking ow, the security system hurts. Yeah, go for a cart. While you do that, I'm just going to try a softer touch here. It might be too little too late on this gate, but let's see how far I can get us with a lockpick.
All right, you get clever and I'm going to fuck this place up. And Reginald's just going to round up his small group of hammers to just get whichever way, north, south, east, west, it doesn't matter to hit this gate, but whatever way is slightly uphill. And they're just going to take a carriage and just fucking put a run into it and just let it ram the last bit on its own.
Amazing. So the squad kind of rapidly pulls the heaviest, oldest looking, sturdiest looking carriage up the hill, and they just kind of look to each other and they're like, Kia on 3.
Hell yeah, brothers, let's do this. And he's just gonna 1, 2, Kia!
Kia! And the carriage starts rolling down the hill. Quinny, let's get that lockpick check. So sleight of hand plus your proficiency with advantage.
That's better. With advantage?
Well, I assume you have infinite thieves' tools at this point. You want a Quinny, so, you know.
I mean, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can get this into a nat 20. I can't. Anyway. That's going to be a big old 34 to pick the lock. I rolled
Cool,
a 19.
you use up your remaining thieves' tools. I never want to hear about this again. Yeah, okay, so a 34. Every door unlocks. It's just, I know I've made this joke before. It's just the Venture Brothers open. It's just every door.
Open.
So we'll say, Quinny, you go to pick the lock. As you touch it, the lock pick kind of zaps back in your hand. But you do notice that the shimmer on the gate, and you notice this also with your face when your face was pressed against the force field.
Yeah.
It kind of throws energy towards whatever's touching it, a little bit like an electric fence. And as a result, you're able to kind of quickly ascertain that when the cart hits, you'll have a window to try and unlock it. So you just wait. You hear the Kia that has now become so commonplace in the Dum-Dums first.
The war cry of the hammerers.
That's right. Yeah.
I like to think that since Farthole arrived, he has been like teaching that. He had been like proselytizing with.
What do you think he keeps yelling as he hammers together his own church that he is canonically building?
Admittedly, he hasn't been teaching it for the several hours worth of religious tirades that have been occurring all day, but he can pick it back up later. Yes, the gospel of Farthole continues to spread in the kiosks of Asgard.
Beautiful.
That's the sentences we say on the show. Yeah.
Given the information you provided me just now, and knowing that the cart is on its way to smash the gate where I'm trying to pick this lock, if I'm seeing protective magic kind of just flow to where it's needed at any given moment, instead of waiting for it to smash into the gate where it's going to concentrate all of that and then try to pick the lock after, knowing now I've got a range of 120 feet on my Eldritch Blast, and I can fire the two blasts simultaneously. Can I just fire 2 opposite directions up at the dome, like the wall, so that the magic is drawn as far away from the gate as possible to make it a very weak point for this heavy carriage to come rolling through?
Sounds good.
Yeah, so I'm there, and I just I hold the power in my fist, and I'm just going to time it so that when I set off the blast, the magic protects at these 2 far distant points, and hopefully in the middle, we get enough of a weak spot to bust through.
Great. So we can say then that you're like the sleight of hand lockpicking check can be used for that, I think, for the timing. So yeah, you fire off your Eldritch Blasts. You see all the energy coalesce on those, and sure enough, the carriage just slams through the gate. And just as the magic dissipates, you have broken into as soon as the circuit is broken, basically it powers off. You can tell that the slightly more expensive version might maintain that enchantment, but clearly they did cut some corners. So the gate just crashes straight down, like it doesn't blow apart. It just gets knocked in and then falls over full. And all of you are able to rush fully into the yard of the Warren estate. Meanwhile, back at the old campaigner, Mrs. Paisley, you have led the most successful paint night in Aka and nascent Asgard history. This wouldn't be a big achievement, but we have established just how poorly the previous one went. So
I don't know who was running it, but
they're probably dead. It's been a bad few weeks. Yeah. But the tavern is lively. There is nice. There's songs striking up. Unfortunately, the folk of Asgard are more used to kind of everything's got a bit of almost a marching song vibe to it. It's a very militaristic art situation. But people are going around comparing pictures. There's a lot of like, oh, that's fun. Like, oh, that's how you did the trunks. Oh, I did it differently. Pitches in an argument with himself over a technique choice, but that's cool. Everyone's just kind of giving him some space to sort through that. The ale is flowing, and generally spirits are high as people chant Paisley, Paisley, Paisley. At some point, there is a clinking. Someone gets up on a chair and starts like clinking their glass for silence.
Hush, 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 hush. And Mrs. Paisley is just like quiet downs everyone.
Mrs. Paisley says it, everyone shuts the fuck up. Mrs. Paisley's talking now, and the lady on the chair kind of like almost bows, which is awkward because she's standing on a stool, and she just says, "Mrs. Paisley, as the co-owner of this establishment, I believe I owe you a couple of things. First, your drinks in this establishment will always be on the house for bringing a spark of art back into our lives. It's something I think we've distinctly missed around these parts. Good as we are at the art of war, the art of the heart and the head is slightly different, and I'm very glad to have it back."
Oh, a little tear trickles down Mrs. Paisley's cheek.
Yeah, and she kind of like wipes one away herself, and she says, "And second, I've been looking around at all this revelry and all these wonderful pictures and paintings. I understand they are to be sent to the castle for King Butthole to observe, which is excellent. That is a tremendous honor. But in seeing them held up, I can't help but notice how very plain the walls of the old campaigner are. So on behalf of myself and my beloved patrons here, I would like to commission a mural from you for that wall." And she points at this big, and like it's got like axe and sword like notches taken out of it. Clearly there's been a lot of fights. It is painted not like a hospital gray, because that's real bad for bars, but like, you know, just the generic kind of like, I need to repaint this constantly to get the blood and booze stains out of it, kind of like a dark brownish gray. And she says, "I've just been using a bucket of this we used to paint the war wagons with to keep this wall somewhat respectable, and it would mean a lot to us, I think, if you would reimagine it for Asgard."
Oh my dear. Oh, okay. And Mrs. Paisley, she's just wants to kind of usher the woman towards her, just to kind of bend down so she could speak to her.
Sure,
not everyone all at once.
She says, go back to your revels. The rest of you still pay for drinks. And then she hops off her stool and down to you can tell that she's she's like a stout dwarven lady. Clearly a former fighter. She's got like her hair is long and kind of scraggly. She's got like a proper like just mane of gray black hair, but under that you can see like there's a divot kind of like through her scalp that's healed over. She's got like just a patchwork of scars across her face, a bit of a split lip, but again, like old as leather kind of face, like just really worn, has been around, carries herself like she should be wearing armor. So she's actually kind of light on her feet. She's wearing a sort of a fairly light outfit to kind of like run around and glad hand. So somewhere between kind of basically what you think a warrior would think, the fanciest thing a warrior would buy. So this is the equivalent of her one collared shirt. If that makes any sense. Wearing a skirt with like just bandoliers, like she's got a Final Fantasy worth of crossed belts, lots of pockets, lots of tankards hanging off it, bar rags, also just like a variety of money belts for making change for folks. And you hear her kind of clank as she jumps down, and you can see she's got a spring loaded artificial leg on her left leg that she kind of like lands the weight on and then drops onto her other leg.
Okay.
And she just she's kind of moves over to you and leans down.
What's your name, dear?
Oh, they call me Vasquez.
Vasquez.
I had a first name a long time ago, but well, once you've served in enough units, first names don't matter so much anymore. It just kind of becomes last names.
That's great. Vasquez it is. I had an idea, but I wanted to run it by you first. This paint night has unexpectedly been a very successful community building exercise.
Yeah.
And since folks love to blow off steam here and enjoy fun times, I thought maybe if you're going to commission a mural, perhaps I design the overall the overall vibe and let all of the regular customers contribute in their own way. What do you say?
So
overseen by me, of course.
Right. So when the next blood gets spilt on the wall, we just kind of leave that as like it's just a happy little cloud, but blood. Is that, or if a stray tooth gets lodged in it, like that's just a fun acorn made of bone, that kind of thing.
I mean that everyone paints.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh. So like a living paint night. Or some kind of paint fortnight, perhaps, or paint month, or some kind of extended paint event where people can just kind of interest. So
we make a weekend of it.
Okay, so
you
paint
have
weekend
weekends here. I don't know the general.
I mean, you'd have to talk to the king. I mean, we kind of stopped caring about days when the undead were here.
Look, we'll get 2 days where people are generally resting and doing their own things, and anyone who wants to join can come and contribute to the mural. Is there something that would mean something to you, or would mean something to everyone, that I can kind of think about how to give it an overall vibe that's kind of like, hey, all you who made it through a car are great, but this is Asgard now, and you're part of this, and we're all gonna get through this. And
I mean, I think the best day that most folks can remember for a car, back when we were still kind of doing our thing, was our victory over the Plantiers. And she leans in closer. Ooh. And she's like, I don't know if you've ever had to fight wizards.
Well, look, I mean, it seems like largely the whole continent is fighting the Plantiers, and why don't we have a little fuck the Plantiers day and I'll paint that kind of vibe.
Fuck the Plantiers day. I could run a promotion on Wings for fucking the Plantiers up. Yes. Yeah, okay. Yeah. All right. I think I can work with that. We'll put together a specialty cocktail. I understand people drink those. Do people drink those? Realistically, I've only really been selling wine and rum from when that Uncle Jim's franchise closed. There was a lot of excess there.
I would say that, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but mixology, which is kind of the art of mixing different liquors and bitters and flavors together.
Oh yeah, I've worked with some alchemists who mixed grenades and things from potions. You're saying we mix explosive flavors?
Explosive to the palate.
Yeah.
Not in a blasting fire way. But yes, no, I was just thinking, it's a lot like paint night. There are certain rules to art. There's a certain general flavor profile you want. But then you can put your own spin on it.
This
is the old campaigner. You have a certain vibe in Asgard that nowhere else in the world has.
That is true.
Go with that. Put your own spin on it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll do that. Okay. So a weekend where everyone can contribute. We'll make it about defeating the Plantiers one way or another. glories of the past, but also the glories of the future, I guess. We can show us burning those stupid crops and going, yeah, fuck your food, Captain Plantier. That'll teach him.
Maybe it can be a mural on one end. It can start with burning the crops, and then it can move on towards saving the crops because the crops themselves weren't actually bad. And then I can move on. Then there can be a little place in the middle that isn't quite. We're not quite sure what's going to happen. But then at the furthest on the right, we're growing our own crops and we're celebrating and we're all well fed.
But how does that fuck over the Planeteers if we can just eat stuff?
Well, there's going to be a part in the middle where the Planeteers get fucked over.
I see.
But that hasn't been determined by future history yet.
Okay, I see. So you're going to get that sheriff who seems to control nature, and then she's going to make deadly crops like the famous stage play villain Poison Ivy, and we could use those to kill the Planeteers, and then their corpses will provide the necessary growth potential for the plant. The plants will grow out of their bodies. They'll be the fertilizer, and then we can eat the plants.
Maybe. Who knows?
It's paint night.
Exactly.
Listen, Mrs. Paisley, I don't know what else you do around here, but I would like to hire you to be a standing consultant here at the Old Campaigner. What's your going rate? And at that, we'll cut back to...
Oh, my gosh. I love that the literal plan or pitch was burn our own crops, profit is so good. I can't believe how seamlessly that got worked in.
Just underpants gnoming it.
And we're not even going to paint the middle part on the wall. We're just going to celebrate the victory over them and acknowledge that right now is very bad.
It's future history.
Yeah, it could just be
future history
like
is
the
outstanding as well.
Bar and the stairs. There's no wall there. It's like that's cool. That's and then
it hasn't been determined yet by future history.
We know what it'll be
the past
like
of
eventually.
Tomorrow, today.
But between now and then, not sure.
The important thing is we like it though, and we want
so good. Oh my god, I love
it.
So funny.
So you have stormed the Hammerers, Reginald and Quinny. You have stormed onto the Warren estate, looking for horses. Their stable is very clear. It is the equivalent of like a 5-car garage. And there are stable hands who've kind of rushed around in front and have sort of pikes that they've lowered towards you. And there's 3 of them. They look like gangly teenagers, sort of in a valet at a mid-level hotel vibe. And the first one just says, halt in the name of the Warrens or we'll gut you. With our staves, you stay away from the Warren horses.
Stand aside in the name of the king or prepare to be arrested and have this entire house claimed by royalty.
Best case scenario for you, by the way.
Nice try, thieves, but we're wise to your ways.
Listen up, you little shits. I have a flaming hammer, and I will make you into fucking goo if you don't give me those horses. I don't know what you're making today, but I guarantee you it's not enough to die.
You're rolling an intimidation check at advantage because you're not lying.
Yeah. Okay. No, advantage is great already. Yeah.
That's a 26.
Hell yeah.
Sir, you make some valid points. If anyone asks, can you please say...
He's already just shoving them aside.
They're out of the way. They're just like, if it's not too much trouble, can you please tell the Warren family we fought you real hard?
Yeah. Doors open, guys. Why don't you go out that way, punch each other in the face 1 or 2 times, and then come up with a story, all of you together, okay?
Hey, okay. I think that guy's the Minister of Culture. And they like go outside and just start throwing fists.
Recognize me? Okay.
It's just like weak Fight Club out there. It's a lot of like, I'm going to slap you as hard as I can. You managed to mount up your horses. Reginald, these horses are sufficient. They aren't the best, but they're not the worst by any stretch. I will, however, need an animal handling from you and Quinny to see just how well you manage these. Although, Quinny, I should ask, are you riding Are you riding your own horse or are you hopping on someone else's?
I was going to hop on to Reginald's because I assume my weight is negligible for a horse, but would Reginald be fine with Quinny kind of hitching ride with him?
Reginald wouldn't care.
Okay. I would also like to then activate my beast speech, my free speak with animals spell as a warlock, and just be like, hey, look, you guys want some oats after this or something like that? What can we get for you to kind of just make all this work nice and easy? We need to get somewhere fast, and we hear you guys are fast.
Oh yeah, we're fast, all right. That's what all of them say. And the Warrens, they never gave us a chance to prove it, but we're very fast.
I mean, this is the night. Tonight's your night. You can prove it. We got to get somewhere oats. Fast. I mean, what do you want? Name it.
Oats.
Name a delicious treat.
I want
Apple?
oats and to go fat.
Oats? Whoa, hang on. And one of them just like goes like, "Hey man, shut the fuck up." Doesn't jostle because they're doing a job. Like they're still horsing. They're like going at full tilt. The other one's like, "Did you say apples? You're saying you can hook us up with some apples?"
Sure, yeah. I can get each individual one of you horses a food of your choice, whatever you want.
Okay, but like, which of us has to die for that? Because my understanding is like someone's got to die, so the rest of us know, what the pecking order is.
You're gonna love this. Nobody has to die. Just say a food now.
Shut the fuck up. What?
No, say a food. I'm getting like Quinny's getting upset now. I'm just like a food. Pick something.
Oats.
Oats? Okay, oats. Great. Good.
I don't know many foods. I've only ever seen oats and apples.
That's all right. You like oats over apples? Once. Oats are for you. You get oats. But you got to do a good job. You got to carry us to where we need to go and quick.
All right.
Perfect.
Yeah, Trevor, you take over.
All right, yeah, we're going to try. We've never actually gotten to go fast before. We normally go to like a little canter with rich folks on our backs, but we can give it a go if oats are involved.
Okay, and back to comment. Quinny's just like, Reginald, these horses have never galloped before, just a heads up.
Well,
these are like show horses.
Together. You hang on to me, I'll hang on to them, and Butthole help us all.
All right. I need an animal handling Reginald at advantage because Quinny's provided some good motivation. I would recommend you roll high because I've rolled for the horse's natural abilities. And it would seem that my dice and Tyler's
10.
dice are good friends. 10. All right.
I have -1 to animal handling.
Okay. So you take off on Trevor and there's just like, it's a little bit of the Bambi on the ice thing where just like hooves are kind of sliding everywhere.
Oh my God.
As the horse like tries to take corners too fast. Like this Trevor is clearly one of the opponents from an early scene in a Fast and Furious movie where they talk a tremendously big game and then just get immediately smoked by like all the name brand characters. Trevor is like going fast as Trevor can. But not at the speed you would hope. That said, you do have a horse, and you are making better time than you would on foot.
Super.
Your plan is to head out of town, I believe, Reginald?
From what he'd been told, it was that Longidon was planning on meeting the assassins outside of town and then like getting the fuck out of Dodge with them. He would assume that part of the plan seems accurate. The assassins getting to join him does not seem accurate, but him being outside of town and booking it, that checks out.
Fair enough. Okay, so you are doing a only okay to bad job of that, but off you go. Meanwhile, Butthole, you are still back at the parade grounds, and you find yourself in the deeply uncomfortable position of not being able to assist with anything or know anything. The dance circles seem to have gone well. The fireworks display went well. You've had absolutely no word back yet about the assassination attempt of
Good.
Vinton. Yeah.
Keep things chill. Doesn't need to know.
What would Butthole be doing now? Like
this is fucking glad handing. He's got the Lord's Alliance here. Like he needs the approval from them and from Oversword, I think Primrose Everheart.
Yeah.
Like this is the event where it's like, how did it land? They've seen the event now. He knows what's going on. If they're pleased with the cultural stuff, if they're pleased with those reveals, like he can talk up the rights of, the Charter of Future Freedoms and how it's going to be put on the castle. But the big thing is just he knows he needs somebody to vouch for him. It was the third thing on the list. And like, can he get anybody here as like a local to back him, or what does he need?
So I will say, based on what they told you, no one here can just give you that, because otherwise someone like Bluebeard could actually just vouch for you.
He knows it's got to be a local, so it's iffier, yeah.
Oh, well, it's got to be a neighbor, like a neighboring nation, and just an envoy saying cool is also not quite enough, because they could have just bribed you. So you will likely need to go help someone in order to kind of earn that little attaboy. But I think in the meantime, checking in on kind of how it's being received makes sense. So you can go talk to Primrose if you want. Is that who you'd want to talk to?
I think of all the people, Primrose is the one with the fucking army outside. So yeah, it feels like testing the waters there is pretty good. He knows the Lord's Alliance is interested, so it's much more a question of neighbors.
Great. All right. So you make your way over, and you find her with obviously an honor guard of purple dragons, kind of like around her. She isn't, the Felthane showed up. Admittedly, she's also back on Quinny, so that may have changed things a little bit. But like, showed up in full armor, but like put on a dress over it, and like made slight nods to like, this is an event. Everheart has not done that at all. She is fully just in her knight armor, very like utilitarian, kind of like essentially like almost a folding chair or stool that you would bring like alongside a horse. All of her honor guard are kind of like at attention, and she's only drinking water. How would you want to approach her? She's observing things. She's kind of unreadable at this distance, but also I'm curious because I know how Butthole tends to do this, but I don't know how King Butthole tends to do this. So how would you approach Primrose?
Less kicking, but more the same thing. Like, just an approach. She's here as a guest. Like, it is his kingdom, so there can't be a whole lot of like kowtowing to guards or shit like that. Like, she's the spokesperson of her queen, I think. Let me double check that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the spokesperson of her queen. So that's his relative equal. Still his lesser in like terms of royalty. Not that he'd enjoy any of this, but he's been trained in all this shit. But like, he doesn't really like talk to her security, and he's damn well not afraid of them. So it's just kind of approaching to go chat very cordially. He likes that she's in armor. This isn't a big fucking thing. He's worn armor to everything in his whole life, and he's never knelt to anybody. That's like, he's a cleric. He's not doing that shit. So
as soon as you approach, she notices you and stands and kind of nods to her guards, who get out of the way, but also like reform to be facing you. So if it's like if it was a block unit facing out, in Warhammer Fantasy terms, they like turned 30 degrees, spending a quarter of their movement to do so. They've just basically you are now the threat, the potential threat, and she doesn't react that way, but you can tell they're professionals. And honestly, like, I don't think that phases you at all. This is very gray water shit.
No, and he'd walk slow enough to allow them to do it without it being a problem or without it seeming rude.
And they're not,
like
they're not, swords aren't coming out. They're not like pulling their guns. It's just like, oh, okay, there's literally like one of the people we're scared of is here now, so we will turn to face you. And Primrose says, yes, King Butthole, pleasure to see you. Congratulations on your, on all of this, I suppose. This is a very strange thing to see in this region, and there's just a hint of a smile as she kind of looks to the sky and she says, to be quite honest, I wasn't sure we'd ever see fireworks above a car that weren't magical in nature or somehow destructive, and yet you've turned war magic into something rather lovely. That's strange, but pleasant.
Thank you for saying so. Having grown up here, being called, I think, strange and nice were constant insults thrown my way, but it's nice that I spent some time away, saw the world, came back, and I'm able to institute some of the changes. Nothing's ever perfect, but it seems like it's a hell of a lot better than it was.
Can you roll me a... You can tell that she's on the verge of saying something. She's got something on the tip of her tongue, but she isn't saying it. What do you think Butthole would do to try and get that out of her? I would say like a persuasion check.
You look like you've got something on the tip of your tongue. Something's just holding you back.
You should pray to Moonham. That'll sort you out right quick. Listen,
Shouldn't hold that stuff in.
how would you like to be the quartermaster of my army?
I've heard you know a lot about horse armor. I think persuasion would be his thing, where he'd just be like, I want you to know that you're free to speak freely, either as the representative of your nation or even as an individual. I'm not going to hold that against you. Now is a time for change and for learning, and if people aren't honest with each other, I don't know how the hell I'm going to get anything done here that's productive.
All right, yeah, go ahead and roll roll a d20. Roll a d20. You know that thing we do all day, every day? It's the only real mechanic in the
Roll an
system. Please do
ability
that.
check, please.
And I think he's going to fart quietly within his armor to guidance himself to try to help this because it feels important. And thank God he did. That's 21.
Goddamn.
But it would have been a 17.
She doesn't acknowledge what you said, but she does seem to kind of nod to herself. You catch just a slight furrowing of her brow, as though she smelt something on the wind, unpleasant, and yet does seem convinced. So, Moonhammer doing her thing, or the Butthammer doing his thing.
Correct. Depends on your dimension.
Yeah, she says, it's interesting. A long time ago, I went on a hunting trip, not for sustenance, not for food, but as a manner of sport and proving one's prowess. This was far from Cormier. I was eager to make a good impression on our hosts. And we took to the woods and went bow hunting. And there was a deer that we managed to track. We tracked them over several hours, and I could not wait. My fingers were tingling with the anticipation of pulling the bowstring taut and releasing the arrow. And when the time came, we found a perfect blind to hide in, and sure enough, our quarry stepped out, and I drew back the arrow. And it was one of those moments where you could almost see ahead, see into the future, and I'm aware that given your particular brand of powers, perhaps that's something you can do or someone in your team can do. My powers are merely those of the mind and the blade, so I have no foresight, but I could almost see how this arrow would fly. I could see how it would hit. I could imagine the whole thing in my mind. And as I did so, I looked at this creature that was eating berries, simply eating berries quietly, minding its own business. And the only thought in my mind as I loosed the arrow wasn't of the glory, wasn't of how much this would raise my esteem with those I'd come with, or how much it could assist Cormier. It was instead of how beautiful this creature was, simply minding its own business. And when I saw the arrow pierce its heart at distance, I saw what I had imagined to come true. My shot was true. It was perfect. If it had been planned or foreseen by one with magical abilities, it could not have been a better shot. And as I was clapped on the back and applauded, I couldn't take any joy in it, because all I could think was that this beautiful thing had been destroyed by me. Looking around at all of this, these first baby steps of a nation you're taking, all I can think is that if you had not come out to meet me when you did, if you had not said what you did, if you had not made the promises you did, this nation would be as dead as that deer, and all of this joy and artistry growing from the corpse of something truly evil would never have come to be. I can't say how this will all shake out, King Farge. But I will say that this is something rather beautiful and rather special. You've given me cause to think. And she just kind of nods to you, seemingly lost in thought.
Out of tragedy, great things can grow. That's what I believe deep in my heart, and it's what has been proven time and time again. If I had not come out to speak to you, perhaps this moment would not have happened. And if you had not loosed that arrow, and that deer had not died, and taught you that tragic lesson, maybe if I had come out, things would have proceeded anyways. The future is an unsure thing, just like our memories of the past just kind of float around and become weird shit over time.
And she kind of like chuckles at that and says, the amount of banners I've seen of past events that people just drag forward, it's astonishing.
But I will say, I think what you said here is probably the most honest thing I've heard from anybody in days. Just know that you're welcome to visit. There'll be a place for you here. And feel free to show up and tell me I shot a deer I shouldn't have shot. Because at least from you, I know it's going to be straightforward and honest and makes sense. And if you got your own interests, it feels like you'll tell me. And that's really all I'm looking for here, because that's an actual partnership. Otherwise, we're all just dancing around each other and saying what people want to hear and waiting to get knives in each other's backs. I feel like you're a knife in the front person, and I feel like it has to be a justified knife. That's how I would like to live in this space.
And she has legitimately chuckled 2 or 3 times over the course of this and says, generally speaking, I have not had the best experiences in dealing with folks from the Sword Coast. A lot of entitlement, a lot of expectation. Very few speak as plainly as you, and I must say Cormier would welcome such good neighbors, King Farge. That said, I fear my hand is still on the bowstring at this point, and it is pulled rather taut. And though I am observing something of beauty, something that I would wish to visit if it were still here, I'm not quite certain yet whether or not I will loose the arrow at your heart. But yes, if it does come, it will be clean, and it will be honest. And it will be an army at your gate, so you will very much see it coming, and I'm sure you will defend yourself accordingly, which we expect, although hope that any collateral damage can be reduced.
And I've also heard a lot of promises over time, and this is diplomacy, so we go from the carrot to the stick, and I understand this nature of this, and I don't blame you for it, even though I wish it wasn't happening. We're going to have to work our way forwards. We're going to have to negotiate these things.
Well, this is the knife in the front piece, which is simply, though I no longer desire the destruction of Asgard, the crimes of Akka must still be held to account.
Yep.
But honestly, this has been a refreshing evening, my lord. Thank you for this. Thank you for what you're trying to do here. I sincerely hope that there is an Asgard for me to visit in more pleasant circumstances one day.
I hope so too. And as a parting piece of advice, because I like you. You seem good. It seems like you're from a good place. You seem very reasonable. Sometimes a deer is just a deer. And sometimes dragons can cast polymorph on themselves. So be careful what you do with bows.
This episode of Dum-Dums and Dragons features the voices of Ryan LaPlante at the Ryan LaPlante on Twitter, Tyler Hewitt at Tyler_Hewitt on Twitter, Laura Hamstra at EL Hamstring on Twitter, and our DM Tom McGee at McGeeTD on Twitter. This episode's sound was edited and mixed by Laura Hamstra, and Dum-Dums and Dragons artwork is by Del Borovic, who can be found at delborovic.com. Our theme songs are And Now for That Massive Coronary and Skipping Through the Orchestra Pit Part 1 by Peter Gresser, and our ad music is No Control and Chiefs by Jazzar, JAHZZAR, all available at freemusicarchive.org. When it comes to Dum-Dums and Dice, you can visit our website at dumdumdice.com. Our Twitter and Instagram are at dumdumdice, and on Facebook at facebook.com/dumdumdice. But most importantly, we've got merchandise at redbubble.com/people/dumdumdice, or you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/dumdumdice. That's DUMBDICE. And tune in next week for more Dum-Dums and Dragons. Dum-Dums and Dice has to give a special thank you to the supreme beings of our Patreon at this time: Christopher Little, George Dolby, Richard Cranium, Gavin and Abby McDonald, Logan, Fire Unfriendly, Grandma Likes D&D, Alan, Stabby Stranger, Glitch Trick, Flynn1138, Alarain Okapi, Schrodinger's Pepper, Guy Edwards, Madre de Gatos, Lady Maiden, Garbo Abe, Locke, Sam Schaefer, Waffle Marine, Dagger Rain,
Rob L., Dia de los Hoodless,
Squishy Werewolf, Remy Funky Head, Nomad, the Wise Paladin of the Badlands, Accent Therapeutic Services in Florence, Kentucky, Lael, Shulzari, Gus Schreider, The Long Family, Jordan Oliver, Richard Wright, Brittany Fenwick, Alex Parr, Old Man Mojo, Dragonfly, The Body Barrelers, and Jill and Noel LaPlante. If you want your name to be added to this list, you can join our Patreon too at patreon.com/dumdumdice. Thanks to them, and a little bit of thanks to you.